Russia, home to communism, vodka, and the worst racetrack in the world. It's a beautiful place, with landscapes ranging from Arctic tundra to sprawling desert, from mountain ranges to grassland as far as the eye can see, from remote wilderness to sprawling metropolises. It truly has everything in the country. It's the biggest country in the world by landmass, almost doubling Canada and the USA in second and third respectively, and has the 9th biggest population in the world at 146 million people. It also has the 11th highest GDP in the world, with massive oil, natural gas and ore resources for export. With this information in mind, it might come to surprise you that there have been only 3 drivers to race in F1 under the Russian flag. Vitaly Petrov, who raced between 2010 and 2012 for Renault, Lotus Renault and Caterham. Danny Kvyat, who raced between 2014 and 2020 for Red Bull and Toro Rosso / AlphaTauri. And no, go away, you don't even race under the Russian flag, just be gone. And the third driver being Sergey Sirotkin. The first 2 drivers there, Petrov and Kvyat, both had a decent few years in F1, with both being able to score podiums and plenty of points. This wasn't the case for Sirotkin though. Sirotkin got 1 year in F1, 1 year where he was able to score exactly 1 point. After hearing that, you might think I'm a bit stupid for asking this next question, but is Sergey Sirotkin deserving of a place back on the grid? And just what has happened to Russia's most overlooked F1 driver? So where do we start? Let's go back in time to August the 27th, 1995, to a hospital in Moscow, where Mummy Sirotkin and Daddy Sirotkin, or should I say Oleg Sirotkin, head of the National Institute of Aviation Technologies of Russia, were having a newborn son. If you hadn't figured, that's Sergey. I mean, not really, that's just his head on a random baby, but just use your imagination, come on now. Skipping forward 13 years to 2008, Sirotkin's grown up a bit and he's just got started in karts, like most young F1 drivers do. His notable karting exploits here were a first place in the 2008 Göteborg Stora Prix, or in English, the Gothenburg Grand Prix, and a third place in the 2009 CIK FIA Viking Trophy, hosted in Denmark. He also competed in the 2009 KF3 World Cup, alongside the likes of a young Pierre Gasly, Nick De Vries, Carlos Sainz and Danny Kvyat, where he finished 26th. This might seem pretty bad, but Sainz finished 24th and Kvyat finished 46th, so what do I really know? Also, I've never heard of the winner, Giuliano Maria Nicheta, so let's just move on. In 2010, Sirotkin got into open wheel racing with Formula Bath, where he got a nice tryout for 6 races with Genza Motorsport. He clearly loved it because he returned in 2011, where he won the European Championship and lost by 13 points to his teammate Patrick Niederhauser in the Italian Championship. With his great showing in the Abarth series, Sirotkin swiftly moved on to Italian F3 for the 2012, racing for Euronova, where he finished 5th in the Italian series and 5th in the European series as well. 5th is alright, but when you consider he beat the likes of current F1 driver Nicholas Latifi and his Abarth rival Niederhauser, as well as getting over 100 more points than his teammate Yoshitaka Kuroda, the Japanese daimyo who was chief strategist to the great unifier of Japan Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Hang on, wait a minute. That's the wrong Yoshitaka Kuroda. No, I meant this guy, who now just runs a business for his family. After this campaign, it was looking pretty solid for Sirotkin though. Also, on a side note, what the hell happened at Monza here? This is like the 2015 F3 Monza before it was cool. Alongside the Italian F3 series, Sirotkin also decided to have a go at the AutoGP World Series in 2012, where he came 3rd, losing to a man named Adrian Quaife Hobbs. But he did beat a racer named Chris van der Drift. I mean, what a name. Presumably lost time as he kept going sideways through the corners. In 2013, Sergey raced in the Formula Renault 3.5 series alongside some big boy names in racing such as Kevin Magnussen, Carlos Sainz, Stoffel Vandoorne and Antonio Felix da Costa. Sirotkin finished 9th in the standings, with K-Mag taking 1st by storm. It wasn't all bad news though. He beat Sainz, bear in mind Sainz at this point, and still is, I guess it doesn't really change. Sainz is older, and also thoroughly beat his teammate Christopher Zanella. It wasn't the worst showing for him. 2013 was also Sirotkin's first test in an F1 car at just 18, when he got to test with Sauber Motorsport. It was looking pretty promising for him, but his fortunes for 2014 would start to slow down in his second season in Formula Renault. 2014 Formula Renault featured the likes of Sainz, Gasly, Latifi, Ocon and several F2 drivers. Sirotkin finished 5th this year, which, looking at the competition, it looks pretty good on paper with all these future F1 drivers in the mix. Well, that's where progress comes in, as on his second season in the series, he really should have challenged for the title, precisely what his previous season competitor Carlos Sainz did in that same season. Couple that with him being beaten by Formula Renault 3.5 rookie teammate Oliver Rowland, and this was starting to look a bit of a season to forget for Sirotkin. But he still had that test driver role at Sauber for the year, and he could make progress to GP2 for 2015. Sirotkin had an immense rookie GP2 season. He also finished 3rd in the standings, behind only a rampant Stoffel van Dorn and a third-year GP2 driver Alexander Rossi. This was a brilliant finish for him, with the likes of Pierre Gasly beaten and Sirotkin's teammate Vissoyu over 100 points behind him. He just needed to improve and really challenge for the title of the series in 2016. Sirotkin finished 3rd in the 2016 GP2 season. Yeah, that's not improving, especially when he was 50 plus points away from the top 2 of Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi. The Prema team that year though was something special, and not even driving in the all-powerful first ART seat could save Sirotkin from them. Though it wouldn't matter, as for 2017 Renault claimed Sirotkin as their main reserve driver to fill in for Sainz or Hülkenberg if ever needed. It wasn't needed. 2018, Sirotkin's big year has arrived, his chance at F1 proper. Williams picked up Sirotkin for the 2018 F1 season, partially thanks to his skill and craft shown through the junior series, and partially thanks to SMP Racing, his big money backers. Sirotkin would race alongside Lance Stroll, already a podium sitter at 18 in a Williams car that finished 5th in the Constructors' Championship the year before. This was his chance to show the world his potential. It was go time. So, as it turned out, the Williams was a bit shit this year, picking up 7 points between the two drivers over the whole calendar. Sirotkin picked up just one of those 7 points, a 10th place finish in Monza, and Stroll picking up the other 6th with an 8th place in Baku and a 9th in Monza. It's safe to say from this top analysis of the tracks where they got the points, that the Williams, well, it thought it was American, acting as if the only time it heard the word corner was when it followed the word Muller. With such a poor car, I think we only have one real point of comparison for Sirotkin for his F1 debut season. That is with his teammate Lance Stroll. On the surface, we've got Lance scoring 6 points and Sergey Sirotkin scoring 1. It doesn't look good with this, but we must analyse further. We must go down into statistics. Our first stop is qualifying. Stroll was infamously not great at qualifying, but then he got pole position at Turkey last year, so yeah, I don't know whether that's true anymore. But this was pre-Racing Point baby Stroll, so it was true at the time and it shows. Sirotkin on his rookie season actually out-qualified Stroll 13-8. This is very talented 3 times podium and 1 time pole position sitter Lance Stroll we're talking about. Not just any old pushover. But qualifying isn't what gets you points, racing is. And of the 16 races that both cars finished, Sirotkin won 7 and lost 9. Just below half the races won is not actually a bad debut season. It looked alright for Sirotkin, so why did he get turfed out for a 34-year-old Kubica for the 2019 season then? Well, as I said earlier, Sirotkin didn't just get the F1 seat from his junior performances. SMP Racing were a big part, and they weren't impressed with Williams' performance for 2018. Williams obviously didn't take kindly to this, and Kubica had Orlen in his backer, who would pay him that good old Polish oil money. Sirotkin was out of F1, and with an ever increasing competition for a seat, wouldn't get back in to this day. Post 2018, he did manage to get reserve roles at Renault and McLaren while racing for SMP Racing at the likes of the World Endurance Championships and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, so he had an alright little spell afterwards. But let's get back to the question at hand. Should Sirotkin be back in F1? Well, accounting for all this, I don't think he's any less deserving of an F1 seat than the current crop of low-level pay drivers. Sirotkin definitely has the ability to race in F1 and not crash out at the first corner, or spin in every session, and he probably would be there ahead of the likes of Latifi if his sponsors didn't decide to pull the plug on his career for them. He's an example of sponsors having too much power, and it has hurt him and his career dearly. I don't see him getting back into F1 really, to be honest. His best bet would be if Mazepin buys Haas and wants an all-Russian lineup, but even then, Schwartzman and Kvyat are already going to be in front of him there. His F1 racing days are mostly over, and with that, so is the tale of Sergey Sirotkin. This has been the first driver analysis video in my alternate F1 grid series. You can check out the introduction video in the description and probably in the corner as well. And if you want to see more of them, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. If there's anything you want to see, you want me to improve, let me know. And it's been a pleasure. See you guys in a while. Peace.